Hello listeners, today I'm going to be showing you how to make this tag right here. Note that I am not going to be replicating this tag in this tutorial, but just showing you step by step what I did. So let's get started. First I chose a nebula stock and placed it in a nice spot that made a nice background, and I then put gradient maps over it to darken it, because I wanted this signature to have a pretty dark feel to it, but still go along with the render which I am going to choose. I then placed in this bubble C4D, which you can find in I'll link the pack to you in the description. And then I put a purple soft brush over it on color with low opacity in the spots that were red, so because the render that I was going to use in it was has purple and blue mostly, so I didn't want red. I then duplicated both layers by holding shift and clicking on both, and then holding alt and dragging them up a layer, and I transformed it. Then I did the same thing, but this time I took the render and I went to distort wave, and I just randomized it until that I got something that I liked, and then I put it there. Then I put this C4D in, which will come into play later in the tutorial, and I put it again over here, doing the same thing with the replication so that I got the gradient maps replicated as well as the C4D. Then I put in my render. These are blur layers under it to kind of blend her in some. And I actually ended up erasing all of the stars that were part of the render that showed off of her, because I didn't like them and they didn't go with the effect that I wanted. And then I put gradient maps and other adjustment layers over her to blend her in to the signature. I then replicated the same C4D again and placed it in my foreground, doing this again on, I believe, linear dodge on 38 opacity to lighten it up some and give kind of a glowing feel to it. Then I pasted in a space stock and erased what I didn't like, and it's set to linear dodge. And I put gradient maps over that to kind of mellow it down some. Then I pasted this same bubble C4D yet again, but this time I went to filter, distort, twirl, and I set it around 350, and then I went back to distort wave again and randomized it until I got something that I liked. I then used the same effect that's shown here and used a part that's off of the screen to create a nice foreground in front of her, and I made the joystick, I erased what was over the joystick to give it a sense of depth. And then of course I have adjustment layers over basically all of my effects that I put here. This is another space stock that I put in on linear dodge and erased what I didn't like. and I then went crazy with the adjustment layers to kind of blend in the whole tag. And notice that I'm trying, in most of my gradients, I stick to the colors that are used most in the tag. So most of these gradients are with a like purple and blue gradient map, and I set most of them on multiply or overlay. Then I applied image, and I went to filter, render, lighting effect, and I created a spotlight right there. And I lowered the opacity some, not too much. Then I wanted to give it more of a sense of depth, so I added a shadow here where the shadow of her piano would be, and I just added even more shadow right close to it to make that seem more realistic. And then I added some more shadows into the C4Ds where I didn't want the light to touch. Then I went through and took the pencil tool and drew along a ton of the C4D edges, and then I put outer glows of different colors on each. So I'll show you where each one is. Right here is that one, then another right here, down here, where's that one? Oh, right here. Another around the joystick, and I kind of erased the part over here to kind of give it a sense of like a ring around the joystick to kind of help with depth a little bit. And then I put another one down here. I focused a lot on foreground ones. A blue one up here to match the blue C4D. Some pink ones back here. Then these purple ones right here to kind of make it so that the C4Ds weren't the only thing getting the effect on them, so that it would blend the render as well. And finally two more, one on the edge of her piano, and then one that's on a really low opacity going around the outside of her top. Then I added some more gradient maps to finish it off. Added the lighting effect, once again the same lighting effect, and lowered the opacity significantly just to give it like a final lighting effect to it. And then finally I was ready to put my text in. And that is the signature. It was quite a pain in the butt to make, I gotta say, and normally I do very awfully with text, but I'm actually very proud of this text. I used pretty much all sci-fi like fonts to try to get the right feel for the text. So if you liked this tutorial and it was helpful, please drop a like and or subscribe.